Whoops. All right, here we go. So, yeah, estoy muy ocupado y demasiado ocupado y cansado también. So, all right, glad everybody's here. It is time to get rolling, and let's get to it. So, all right, so today we're going to learn how to say "I live here" in Arabic. Yep. And in modern Hebrew as well. So I want to review by just learning how to say the pronoun I. Okay, and we'll start with which language did I choose to go first? We kind of go back and forth. So in Hebrew, if we want to say I in modern Hebrew, it's going to be ani, ani. Okay, and if you're new at the spelling of Hebrew, aleph nun yud, but we'll pronounce it ani, ani. That's going to mean I. And in the notes up above here, it says CS for common singular, meaning one person as opposed to plural. Plural would be we, but common is common in gender. Common in gender. Okay. And so it'll be for males and females. All right. And now in Arabic, if we want to say I, it's not ani, but it is similar. It is similar. Ana, ana, ana. So alif, nun, alif is how we spell it. This, I don't know if we've talked about it much, but this sign on top, it kind of looks like, what does it look like in, I don't even know what it looks like in English. Kind of like a C with a tail underneath. But that is, that's called Hamsa, and that's technically the consonant. Alif is not actually the consonant. It's more of a chair for the consonant. But ana means I. Okay, and don't worry if you don't know the script for either Hebrew and or Arabic. Learn it in transliteration. In fact, most books, in fact, that teach modern Levantine Arabic, they don't do it through Arabic script. Script is something you learn later. You learn to speak the language and hear the language first. Then you learn to read and write it later on. Okay? All right. So, ani in Hebrew, that means I, and ana in Arabic. Okay. All right, so next we've got the word here, and we learned this in a previous video. And so if you're new to this broadcast, I would encourage you to go back and have a look at the previous videos so that you get caught up, because this is kind of a cumulative thing here. Okay, and so the word here in Arabic is hon. Hon. Okay, so hon is how we say here in Arabic. And then if we want to say that in Hebrew, it's a little bit different. And it will be po. Po. Okay, hon in Arabic, po in Hebrew. And here they are both together. Okay, hon and po. All right, now, if we want to say I am here, this is actually super easy in both of these languages, because we don't need the word am. We don't need, the verb to be. So is, am, are in the present tense. Okay. Technically, both languages do have a present tense for these, but they're not usually used. Okay. So I am here in Arabic. Try to think about it for a second. How would we say I am here? Ana hon. Ana hon. I am here. Literally all we're saying is I hear. I hear. Okay, the am is implied. Now in Hebrew, we do the same thing, just with the Hebrew words, and that will be ani po. Ani po. Okay. And so looking at them both together, ani, hon, I'm sorry, I'm mixing the two languages up now. I'm doing too much here. Got to move this chat box over to get it out of your way. This way we can see the discussion without it getting in the way of anything. And I'm actually going to move myself out of the way down to here. Okay. All right. And so, yeah, in Hebrew we have ani po, and in Arabic we have ana hon, ana hon. Okay. And as always, feel free to add your questions as we're going through. Okay. Now, next, we're going to learn how to say lives or live in the present tense. Okay. Now, especially with regard to Arabic, it's a little bit more complicated. How to express something in the present tense. It's a little bit tricky for those of you who might know some Arabic. I'm not going to give, an overview of the entire verbal system here today, but we're just going to learn how to say it in this particular sentence. And very good, Jen. Kinni. Excellent. All right. So if we want to say this in Arabic, to say live or lives in the masculine singular. So in other words, this form that I'm about to show you will be applicable when a male wants to say I live. It will be applicable when a male wants to, or if we're speaking to a male, and if we want to say you live, and if we're speaking about a male and we want to say he lives. Okay. So this form will be applicable, and the form is sakin, sakin, sakin. Okay, and so that can be for I, for you masculine, or for he when we have he as a subject. Okay, sakin. Properly speaking, this form is a participle. It's not a full verb. Participles are technically verbal nouns, but they often function as verbs. So a little bit tricky how Semitic languages deals with them. All right, and then in Hebrew, we deal with the same thing. We're going to have a masculine singular form. Technically, it's not a verb, it's a verbal, it's a participle. And we can use this for I, for you masculine, or for he. And the form is gar. Gar. Okay. So I live, if a male is speaking, gar. You live, if we're speaking to a male, gar. He lives, gar. Okay. So in Arabic, the form is sakin, sakin. This comes from the same root, by the way, those of you who are interested in the Hebrew scriptures or in Judaism, or in theology in general. The word sakin comes from the same root as the Hebrew word shekhinah, which is often pronounced as Shekinah by English speakers. Yep. Okay. Same root. All right. Now, and Jank, very good. In the comments below, Jank writes, Ana sakin hon. Excellent. Perfect Arabic there. Well done. Or since you were speaking Spanish before, bien hecho. Bien hecho. All right, so I live here in Arabic. And as Jank indicated there, Ana sakin hon. Ana means I. And it can mean, remember that can mean I for a male or a female, but here it has to refer to a male because of sakin. Sakin is a masculine singular form. I live. Ana sakin. And then the word hon means here. Ana sakin hon. I live here. And that's how a male would say it, not a female. Now in Hebrew, switch over to the Hebrew and allow you to think about that for a minute. See, this is great. So this is all cumulative. Okay. And we have ani, ga, po. Ani, ga, po. Okay. Ani means I. Gar is the masculine singular form. Ani, gar, and then po means here. Ani, ga, po. So both of them together, we have in Arabic, ana sakin hon. I live here. And in Hebrew, ani gar po. Ani gar po. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to add them. All right. So either you're saying lecha or lech. It can be either one without vowels. This is this is one of the tricks. So I see you wrote ani gal po, which means I live here. And then the lecha or lech, depending on what you mean. Lech means go. It's a command. So that's probably what you have in mind, right? Go. I live here. In other words, get away from my house. So lech ani gal po. Okay, very good. I see what you're getting at there. All right. Very good. So, all right, excellent. So I live here. All right, now we want to, we learned that sakin and gar, respectively, are the masculine singular forms. Oh, geez, I don't know why I don't have my glasses on. There we go, lech. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I get what you're going with. Leave, right? Lech or, hipared. Okay, very good. So sakin and gar are the masculine singular forms, meaning to live, okay, or lives. All right. And then in Hebrew, if we want to make gar into feminine, we have gara. Okay, gara, we put a hey on the end. And the hey is technically not a consonant here. It's really a mother of reading, as we would call it. Ima kriya. Okay. All right. So, gara means, feminine singular to live. So if a female says, I live, about herself, if you're saying to a female, you live, and if you want to say she lives, gara. Okay. In Arabic, we do the same thing, except we don't put a hey at the end. We put a letter that's called ta marbuta. Okay. And the ta marbuta is actually the letter ha, which corresponds to hey, but it's got the two dots of the ta. Okay, so it's a combination of an H and a T, which is actually an appropriate letter because this ending is, sometimes it's an H that is there as a vowel letter just to show that an A is to be pronounced, and other times the T is actually pronounced. Okay. All right, and so in Palestinian Arabic, we would pronounce this sekne, sekne. Okay, in formal Arabic, the full form would actually be, okay, sakina or sakinatun. All right, hey Angela, glad you're with us. Shalom, shalom, brucha haba, welcome, welcome. Glad you could be with us today. So we're just learning the feminine singular form. For those who just showed up, maybe I should, if you'll permit me just to review really quickly. Oh, yeah, we got the subscribe thing there. Sorry, that was in the, the lessons here. So we're learning to say I live here, and I'll just do this really quickly for the sake of review. Okay, and so I in the common singular is in Arabic. Hebrew. I did that first, I forgot. Is going to be ani. Ani. And then in Arabic, we're going to have ana. Ana. Okay, so ani in Hebrew, ana in Arabic. Then we reviewed the word from last video. And again, if you haven't seen, pardon me, the previous videos, head on over to my YouTube channel and you'll see it's listed as 5-minute language lessons. Technically I'm probably going to boil this down into a 5-minute video that I'll post on YouTube as a regular video. But for those who like to have the class format, then it's probably going to be an hour long. Okay. So for those who want to stick around and get the practice. All right. So here in Arabic is hon, hon. And then in Hebrew, we have po, po. Okay. So, efo gata or efo atagar, very good. Where do you live? Ani gar be Connecticut. Ani gar be Connecticut. Ani gar be Connecticut. Yep. Vata, efo atagar. Efo atagar. There you go. That's for Jenk's comment there. All right, so, po means here in Hebrew, and in Arabic, we've got hon. In Arabic, we've got hon. And then to say I am here, right? We say ani hon I'm sorry, I'm mixing up Hebrew and Arabic now. I'm rushing. So ana hon in Arabic. And finally, in Hebrew, we have ani po. So ana hon in Arabic, ani po. This is hard when you're doing, you know, two languages and then reading chats and flipping through slides and all that. So I apologize for the little mix-ups there. And then we said the word to live in the masculine singular in Arabic is going to be sakin, which is related to the Hebrew form shechina or shekinah, right? And then in Hebrew, we're going to have the word gar. So gar in Hebrew and sakin in Arabic. And to say, I live here, if a male, masculine singular, if a male is going to say, I live here, in Arabic it will be ana sakin hon. Ana sakin hon. Ana sakin hon. And to say, I live here in Hebrew. Yep. And yeah, I see. So Jank just, he didn't write Ani gar po. He wrote in the comments, if you're looking at it below, he writes Ani gar biturkia, in I live in Turkey. Okay, I live in Turkey. Thanks for sharing that too. And if you want to say I live here in Turkey, you know, if you wanted to do that, you know, you could add the word po. All right, so Ani gar po. I live here, and there they both are. And so for those of you who are just, you know, just tuning in, you know, we have a challenge today. We're trying to get 5 supers, any level, just to help, you know, fund the channel, to fund the work that I'm doing and all the time that gets put into it, the resources that we need. So if you're willing to do that, that little bit of extra daily support really, really helps. It adds up over time. And I appreciate it. I actually just ordered, you know, for my iPad, I just ordered a pen because I'm going to be doing a series on Chaldean, or what's called Assyrian Aramaic. It's a living form of Aramaic. And to teach everybody how to write that, I really need to be writing it out on the broadcast. And so, again, this is just one of the things that, you know, costs money to do these broadcasts. And so anybody who can throw in a couple dollars here and there, it is much appreciated. Thanks so much. All right. So now let's go over to the feminine. Okay. And so the feminine singular form, meaning live or lives, if a female's saying I live, if we're speaking to a female and we say you live, or if we're speaking about a female and we want to say she lives, okay? In Hebrew, we're going to get gara, okay? That's the Hebrew. So notice we added the at the end. Very much akin to Spanish, you know, Spanish nouns and adjectives. If it has an O in the masculine, you add an A in the feminine, okay? And then in Arabic, same thing happens where we get sakne. So when some of the others joined before, I was explaining that in Arabic, the word collapses. The full form of the participle in the nominative is sakinatun in, you know, high-level Arabic, sakinatun. And, you know, that can be shortened to sakina, and then in Palestinian Arabic, it just squishes down and contracts to sakne, okay? So sakin in the masculine singular, sakne in the feminine singular. So there they are together, gara and sakne. Gara and sakne. So when a Hebrew participle becomes, or present tense, you know, you would say from a modern Hebrew perspective, when it goes into the feminine singular, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, a hey is added. I should qualify that. Oftentimes a hey is added. That would be a more accurate statement. In Arabic, we're going to get the ta marbuta. Okay, right there. They do the same thing, essentially. All right, so now how would we say I live, how would a female, how would a female say I live here in Arabic? Oh, you're stateside. All right. Jank just shared that there. All right. Well, that's good. You know, and the truth is, just to Cenk's comment there, when I'm learning languages, I make up all sorts of nonsense sentences or stuff that's not true just to practice. And even, you know, times I'll just tell completely fictitious stories out loud to myself. I'll just be talking just to practice using language, to practice saying things that I might need to say or that I might hear somebody else say. So excellent, excellent tactic there. All right, I live here for a female. In Arabic, we get ana sakne hon, ana sakne hon, ana sakne hon. By the way, I wanted to mention this, that some of you might have found this curious. Why isn't it sakna? Sakna. Well, what you find in Levantine Arabic is that feminine singular words, sometimes the e sound is the feminine singular ending, and other times it's the a or a sound. Okay, you're going to see both, and I'm not going to get into the rules and the patterns for it, but for now, just understand that this final e in the transliteration is a feminine singular mark. Ana sakne hon. Ana sakne hon. Okay. And then in Hebrew, if we want to say I live here, ani gara po. That's for a female saying it. Ani gara po. Okay. I live here. And here they are together. And again, just for those of you who are maybe newer to the broadcast, new to the channel here, I gotta shrink my video here just because it's in the way of some of the text, and I am not that important. You don't really need to see me. Okay. I'm not the reason we're here, right? To see my video. It's to learn the language. All right. So yeah, it's even if you don't know the scripts, that is okay, because just a reminder, when everybody learns their first language, they don't learn by reading and writing, they learn by speaking and listening, or I should reverse that, listening and speaking. Okay. So there you go. In Hebrew, ani ga po, and in Arabic, ana sakne hon. Ana sakne hon. All right, so let's continue as if we were going to have a dialogue, and let's suppose that you wanted to ask someone where they live. Okay, it's a reasonable thing to ask, as long as you're familiar with the person, right? You don't ask this to someone you don't know. Might be a little strange. All right, and so in Arabic, how did we ask the question where? Does anybody remember that from previous videos? How do we ask the question where? It is Wayne. Wayne. In Palestine and Israel, you can also hear Fain. Fain. That also shows up as well. But Wayne is just, you know, you're probably going to encounter that far more commonly. So we're going to use Wayne just to keep things simple. Okay. And then in Hebrew, how do we say, I know Cenk knows it because he put it in the chat before. Okay. How do we ask where something is in Hebrew? Modern Hebrew, that is. Efo. Efo. Okay. Efo. So efo in Hebrew and when in Arabic. By the way, for those who are not familiar, we're doing a beginner's course in modern Hebrew that leads into biblical Hebrew. The goal is to learn biblical Hebrew, but we start with modern Hebrew. Yep, there it is. Angela, you got it. Efo. Efo. Now, when you put the question mark there, that's exactly how we'd write it. You know, for those who know Hebrew script here, notice that's a hey, but the hey is a vowel marker. Okay, it's not a consonantal hey. How do we know that? Don't worry about it for now. That's for later on. But we'll learn this stuff in the Hebrew course that I'm teaching. We've had the first 2 lectures this week. The videos are up in the live section of my my YouTube channel, and they're also there on my Patreon page, which is a great way to support the work of the channel. Paid subscribers to the Hebrew Aramaic tier. For only $12 a month, you get access to all my videos, which I don't know, I think it's up around 200 or 250 now or something like that. And you get access to that, unlimited access. And that allows me to keep doing what I'm doing here. So my wife doesn't pull the plug on me, right? All right, so here we go. So now we learned how to say where, apho in Hebrew, wain in Arabic, and then you in the masculine singular form in Arabic is going to be inta. Inta. Sometimes this will be spelled with an A at the end, other times with an E, but whether you hear inta or inta, it means you in the masculine singular. Okay. And then in Hebrew, a similar form, ata. Ata. That's you in the masculine singular in Hebrew. And so inta in Arabic, and this is Levantine Arabic. We're not doing Quranic Arabic here. Very similar, but in many ways, but this is not what we're doing. Okay, inta and ata in modern Hebrew. So, how would we ask a male, where do you live? Think about this for a minute. Where do you live? How would we ask a male, where do you live? So, what's the word for where? What's the word for you? I'm sorry. What's the word for you? And what's the word for live? Let's start in Hebrew. Okay, so think for a minute. What's the Hebrew word for where? We just did it. Okay. So in Hebrew, yeah, I've been trying to learn on my own. Just looking at Angela's comment here for a minute. Yeah, excellent. Good. I hope you join us. And yeah, check it out. The videos are in the live section. And then, yeah, on my Patreon channel as well. Okay. Yep. Happy to have you as part of the class. All right. So how do we say, where do you live in Hebrew to a male? Efo ata ga. Efo ata ga. Efo ata ga. All right, and then in Arabic, so take a minute to think about this. All right, how do we say where in Arabic? How do we say you with regard to a male? And how do we say live with regard to a male? Okay. And as you're thinking about that, Angela, well done. Who is he and he is she? That's how we remember those pronouns, right? And we can even, you know, what we're going to find out in our next video, actually, is that me is who, or I should put it this way, me is who is he, and he is she. There's one for you. Me is who, and who is he, and he is she. Okay. All right, so where do you live in Arabic? Okay. Scroll down here. Wain inta sakin. Wain inta sakin. Wain inta sakin. Wain inta sakin. And so looking at them both together here, wain inta sakin in Arabic for, and this is masculine, right? And then efo ata ga. Efo ata ga. All right, now let's go over to you in the feminine singular. See how much you remember from last time, right? So, at. At. That's you, feminine singular. Okay. In Hebrew, of course, modern Hebrew. Then in Arabic, we get inti. Inti. Okay. So remember what the masculine was, inta. Inta in Arabic, inti in the feminine singular. Okay. All right. Now, any tips on how I should begin making flashcards? That's an excellent question, Angela. Yeah, it depends on what you're getting at. You know, some people are trying to, like, I present Hebrew and Arabic together and they want to learn both modern languages because maybe they're going to Israel and Palestine or whatever, and they want to be able to speak a little of both. Some people are doing it maybe for studying the Hebrew scriptures and understanding Semitic languages. Some people are just interested in one language and maybe not in the other. So one of the things you could do is let me know what your personal goals are, and then I could give you some personalized tips on how I might go about doing that. Um, but yeah, it's like one thing that you could do, if you like stuff digital, these presentations that I do, I know they're not fancy. I don't have much of an eye for graphic design or anything like that, but I use Canva. I have a subscription to Canva, and it just is a quick and easy way to do this. But you can use it for Instagram reels. You can use it for making flashcards and all sorts of things. So that's a good way to do it. And writing your own flashcards out is great. Best thing to do. But yeah, let me know what your goals are, and I'll happily give you some tips there. So you feminine singular, inti, inti. Okay. So at in Hebrew, inti in Arabic. So now, if we want to ask, where do you live? Where do you live? Feminine singular, Jank, you're on it. Awesome. I love what he wrote there. I don't know if anybody else is able to read that, okay? But he wrote Ani gala, feminine singular, right? Ani gala po b'Moav. I live here in Moab. Okay, so I guess if he's role playing Naomi or something like that, Ruth and Naomi. Ani gala po b'Moav. Okay, very good. All right, so where do you live in Arabic? It's going to be Wen inti sakne. Wen inti sakne. Wen inti sakne. All right, Angela, trying one language at a time. The Hebrew language is where I'm trying to start. Great. I've started reading the Interlinear Bible daily. That's fantastic. Very lofty goal. And so maybe the course that I'm doing 3 times a week on YouTube live will be a nice complement. It's something easier because reading the Hebrew scriptures, some of it is easier, some of it is very difficult and a lot of rare words. And so I found that in my experience is that when I started learning modern Hebrew, that is when I found that it was became more understandable. Okay, became more understandable. Yep. And yeah, so an interesting thing here. So the comment I see Nanavon Abuch, right? So Anigala, yeah, you'll see that with certain participles. And the interesting thing is with the technical thing here, and I'm not going to get into this right now, with hollow verbs is what you get in modern Hebrew is that there is a discrepancy between how some of the what we call G stem, or you might call them call hollow verbs, where you only have essentially 2 roots or 2 root letters. So they're listed in the dictionary with 3. So this one would be gimel vav resh, right? Or if you take the word to come, beit vav aleph, right? You can say gala, right? But properly speaking, and you'll see this when you look at the Bible and even the reading of scriptures, is that you'll find that sometimes what's pronounced every day is not always the proper one. So there's even discrepancies when you listen to, and I know I'm talking to an Israeli here, presumably, but when you listen to people speak Hebrew at different levels, you will find that with these hollow verbs, and this is a very small amount of verbs, where you have hollow verbs, everyday hollow verbs like ga, ba, sam, verbs like that, that when you put them into the feminine singular, yeah, you get the a at the end, the stressed a at the end will be past tense, but a lot of times what is considered the proper reading as opposed to the colloquial is going to shift, between first and second syllable. And so it really is a confusing thing. If For those of you who might listen to the New Testament in Hebrew read by Israelis, you're going to hear with these participles that, or present tense verbs, depending on how you call them, they're going to be stressed at the end. Yeah, exactly. And then that's absolutely right. Thanks for putting that comment in. And so when I was at Jewish Theological Seminary, I would always say anigara. Well, not for me, but in reconstructing these sentences, efo atgara, for instance. And but like if you say welcome, brucha haba, right? And so the stress can shift. And for those who are really into technical stuff, there's a phenomenon known as nasog achor in Hebrew. And we'll talk about that probably in one of my biblical videos. Yep. Absolutely. But thanks for chiming in there. I appreciate it. So when inti sakne, okay? And then, in Hebrew, then the corresponding part would be efo adgara or efo atgara, depending on which, register you're using. Efo atgara. All right, and there they are. Okay. All right, and so, yep. All right. Yes, but when you're speaking to a female, right? Just referring to the comment down below. So then we have both of these here. I live here, so I think I covered these already. This is just a duplicated slide. All right. And so these are just repeats here. Okay. And I think that's it in terms of slides. These are just, I'll put these in. I'll kind of leave these in here. And with members, I'll share the slides with you if you want to practice on your own or something like that. You know how to contact me. But that is it for the presentation here today. So let me just take a minute to hold on. Let me turn that off. There we go. And just so I can, you guys can see me better, I'm just going to increase this so we can see each other. There we go. All right. And I'm going to move that up. And I just want to put the comments in here as well. It's one of those things I wish I could stretch it out the other way. But there you go. Okay. And so, anybody who's interested in like technical stuff with Arabic, I figure I'll take a minute for those who are here just to show you a few books that you might find interesting. So there's a few. One of them I think I have back at my house. I don't have it with me today here, but one series for those who are looking to buy books on Arabic. This is a, there we go. I think everybody can see that. So Omar Othman, he was or is, I'm not sure, a professor at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Excellent book. And I'll just show you a page here so you can get a sense. These are just some greetings here. And notice, whoops, sorry, there we go. No Arabic script. And this is what most of these books do. Now this one, okay, and so this is Moin Halun, okay, who before his passing was a professor at Bethlehem University, and you can see here that he gives both. Yep. So hopefully that's helpful. And so what I'm trying to do here is, my PhD is in the Hebrew Bible and ancient Semitic languages from Jewish Theological Seminary. And while I was there, we had to learn, modern Hebrew to an advanced level, which is, where you can speak, intermediate everyday Hebrew, not going to give university lectures or something like that. But I also started learning, what is it now, 25 years ago, formal Arabic, or what they call Fusha. And it was only, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, I started getting into Palestinian Arabic, and then broadened out to the broader Levantine dialect, from that region. So, so that's what I'm doing. And everybody has their own reason for tuning in. Some people, they're interested in understanding the world of the Bible better. Some people want to understand the modern world of Israel and Palestine and the Middle East. So whatever your interests are, hopefully this is helpful. Again, we're looking to get 5 supers for today, just to help out with funding the channel, any level. And when we hit that magical number of 5, I will I'll do a live Q&A session. So really, really appreciate it. Yep. All right. So that is it for today. If you haven't seen the other videos, then please, please check out the YouTube channel. You'll see that in the live section. And the shorter videos, like there's a condensed version that you'll find on the regular YouTube channel. And then all of my videos on the Bible, the Hebrew scriptures, Greek, Aramaic, whatever. Yep. So Arabic, very beautiful language there. My son learned it within 3 months a few years ago. He's 20 now, serving the IDF. Yeah. So the thing is, if someone knows modern Hebrew and speaks it fluently, it really is a piece of cake to learn Arabic. There's some subtle changes. Like I'll give you guys an example. So if you take the word sakin here, okay. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing you. Sorry, let's see. Let's do this. There we go. So now you can see it. So if you take this word sakin here, what happens in Arabic is that, generally speaking, when Arabic has the letter sin, which is what this is, it becomes shin in Hebrew. Okay. And in cases where you have an irreducibly long A vowel, which is what this alif represents here, okay, it becomes an O in Hebrew. We actually call that the Canaanite shift. So sa in Arabic becomes sho in Hebrew frequently. And then the kaf here in Arabic, the kaf represents kaf in Hebrew. And in such an environment in Hebrew, it's just not going to be pronounced as a k. It's going to be pronounced as a ch. So sak becomes shoch. And then the I vowel in Hebrew becomes, because it's stressed, it becomes a long E vowel, what we call tsere. And so sakin becomes shochen. But once you know how to make those little adjustments, it's fairly easy to pick up Arabic from a Hebrew knowledge base. Yeah. So, yep. But yes, and you're absolutely right there. If you use it on a daily basis, and that's part of the reason why I do so many of these broadcasts, is because I'm working with ancient Hebrew, modern Arabic, Aramaic, Spanish as well, and then to a certain extent some of the other languages of the biblical world, and it's hard to keep up with all of them. But yeah, anywho, so that's about it for today. Any questions before I sign off? Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope you become subscribers to the channel. Check out my Patreon page, because that financial support really helps me to keep doing what I'm doing. Because doing these live streams, generally speaking, doesn't pay the bills, if you know what I mean. Yep. Yeah, so Colin, the wow is pronounced like an O in hone. Yeah. Needs more Sumerian. Yeah. Yep. All right. So yeah, the wow pronounced like an O in hone is vicious. Okay. And I assume you're meaning just that that it's hard to figure out, what to do with the vavs and the wows and that kind of thing, right? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Well, hey man, great to see everybody. Oh, I see Angela. Could you please reveal what vav sounds like? Oh, sorry. When V sounds like the consonant versus silent. Okay. So yeah, I'll talk about that. So historically, what we call the letter vav in Hebrew is not vav, it's wow. Okay. It was a W. And it was a W for a long time. And we know that because of Arabic, other Semitic languages. There's a whole host of reasons, a lot of evidence, that we can say. Let me do, boom, there we go. All right. Now you can see me. It's more of a conversation, right? So yeah. So historically, vav is not vav. Vav was not vav. Vav was wow, just as it still is in Arabic today. Okay. And part of the reason that we know this is that not only from Arabic, but why is it that the letter Vav was used from a very early time to represent the sounds O and U, as in the word shalom, right? Why would you use the letter V to represent an O or a U sound? Well, when we say O and U, what do you hear at the end of it? You hear a W, right? And that's the reason why Vav is used for the O and U vowels, okay? So shalom, or, yichtavu, they will write at the end, the U, okay? So yeah, now, when is it pronounced? When it's functioning as a consonant, though, because we're using modern Israeli pronunciation, we're going to pronounce it as a V. Okay, I don't, like most biblical scholars today, Jewish or otherwise, do not use ancient pronunciation because there were many ancient pronunciations. So we just stick with one standard, and that's the modern Israeli pronunciation, the Sephardic pronunciation. Okay, and when the basic rule is this: when vav follows a letter, that does not have its own vowel written with it, the vav must be a vowel symbol and not a consonant. So I'll repeat that. When vav follows a consonant, I'm sorry, when vav follows a consonant that does not have a vowel sign already attached to it, connected with it, then the vav must be a vowel sign. All right, let me show you from the Bible itself. Okay, so I don't mind doing this here. I got to set up my screen here and push the Greek and the Aramaic out of the way, get the English out of the way. Okay, and let's do a screen share. Bear with me one second. Media source, window capture, yes, accordance. Okay, so let's do this here. I just got to stretch this out. Okay, and that should do the trick. Thank you, Greeks, for inventing vowel letters. All right, I love it. Okay, so yeah, and let's do this way. We get the Greek and the Aramaic out of there, because what do we need that for right now? Okay, so I just happen to be on Genesis chapter 1 and verse 30. We have, yeah, oh, okay, so I'm looking at Angela's comment here. But in David, it is the sound V. It wasn't originally. Yeah, it was not originally a V. That's how we pronounce it now. But historically, it was a W. Yep. Dawid, then it became Dawid over time. Okay. and then, David. But yeah, originally the V in David is not a V at all. It's a W. Yep. Okay. So the Vav at the beginning of this first word, ulchol, okay, means and. And this just, when it comes at the beginning of the word, if it has the dot in it, it's a vowel, u. If it has the schwa beneath it, the two dots, then it would be v, okay? We find our next one here, same thing, ulchol, okay? So that's a vowel, okay? And then oaf, okay? So we look at this and we say, well, we've got what could be three consonants. There's an ayin, that's a consonant. There's a vav, it could go either way. And there is pe sofit, okay? Now, ayin, what you see above it there, and let me make this just bigger here so it's easier to see. Where'd we go? Okay, so yeah, so this word oaf here, okay, which means bird, or, ulichol oaf, so and to every bird, right? Over the ayin, that symbol that you see is a cantillation mark, or you might say an accent mark, okay? Cantillation marks. That's not a vowel. Ayin doesn't have its own vowel. So what does that mean? It means the vav that follows it has to be a vowel. And lo and behold, there's the cholam there above the vav, and it's pronounced oaf. Oaf, okay? Let's look for another vav. We got another one here, ulichol, but we've seen that already. Here we go with the word romes, okay? And look at that. Resh does not have its own vowel, okay? And so therefore the vav that follows it must be a vowel letter, okay? Romes, okay? Another vav, here we go, in bo. Beit does not have its own vowel, therefore the vav must be the vowel symbol there, okay? Bo. And that's it for that verse, but hopefully that gives you some idea. It is far less common in Hebrew to see vav as a consonant. It happens, yes, it occurs, but it's far less common to see vav as a consonant, okay? Any other questions that I can answer? I don't mind taking a couple more since we're here together. And I know there's a 15-second lag, so every time I ask, are there more questions? I got to wait 15 seconds just before I know you guys even hear the question. Yep. All right, cool. Happy to help, Angela. Thanks for the comment. Appreciate it. All right. I very much appreciate it. All right. Just see if we got any more here. All right, looks like we are good. So I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Tomorrow we'll have our Hebrew class again, where we're just starting with some basic modern Hebrew, which is going to serve as a foundation for biblical Hebrew. And and we'll talk about that. I'm also going to be doing we got one more question. All right. So yeah, so the question there, so the two verbs that you mentioned, the first one means to live in a place, okay? The second one means to be alive, okay? So the first one, like we were saying, ani ga po, Connecticut, right? That means to live, in a place, to reside, we might say. The second one, okay, chaya, means to be alive. So thanks for subscribing to the channel. Do I broadcast every day? Just about. Right now, I don't have a broadcast schedule. I try to do it as late in the day as possible for, people in the US, but sometimes I'll just jump on and live stream, and whoever shows up to the party shows up to the party. I'm busy doing 3 different things. I am a teacher. I'm the chair of the theology department at a boarding school. I also pastor a church, and then trying to do the whole YouTube Patreon thing. So yeah, that's right. Chaya does mean right. It can mean animal when it's as a noun. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, Chaim would be the plural, right? So, all right. So, or I'm sorry. So Ba'ale Chayot would be the animals, right? And then Chaim for life, which is a plural form. But they're, they're connected there. Yeah. So yeah. But thank you for chiming in and for joining. It's really nice to have everybody here. Continue, consider supporting the channel. Appreciate all your help, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip. All right. Shalom lehitraot. All right. Bye bye. Oh, wait, we got a no. What do we get? Sorry, we got one more. Ba'alei Chaim. What did I say? Ba'alei Chayot. Yeah, Ba'alei Chaim. My bad. Yep. Thank you for correcting me on that. Thank you. All right, great to see everybody. And yeah, I'm actually just getting back into my Hebrew. I starting to read the newspaper again and listen to Israeli podcasts because between Spanish and Arabic and Hebrew, it's tough keeping up with them all. And then doing Aramaic as well. Yeah, I did. I admit when I mess up though. You're right. That's right. Yeah, but and doing Aramaic. Oh, I will before I sign off. I did. Did I bring it? What? I didn't bring my backpack. I will. I'm gonna start broadcasting the Aramaic. It's really, some people will call it Assyrian. Some people will call it Chaldean. Yeah, I don't mind. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So everybody needs a little humility, right? It's good for all of us. um, yeah, the Aramaic book. If you guys remind me tomorrow, I probably won't start streaming on the Assyrian or Chaldean Aramaic until I don't know, 2 or 3 days from now. But if you're interested in getting the book so you can follow along, it will help. And you'll find that the Aramaic that we're doing I know that there are a lot of, people interested in Aramaic, and it's kind of funny in a way. Like one of the things that's I find humorous is that whenever I do a video on biblical Aramaic, I don't even know what language I'm dealing with right now. Interesting. Interesting. How cool. All right. Yeah, whenever I do a video on biblical Aramaic, though, I use the Tiberian cantillation marks with modern Israeli pronunciation because there is no one Aramaic pronunciation from antiquity. People would have pronounced it differently depending on when they lived and where they lived. And you can even see this with Arabic today, as I've said before. If you go to, for instance, let me think, I'm trying to think of a good word. Yeah. Well, all right. Let me just explain the phenomenon. So if you go to Bethlehem, for instance, in Palestine, or to Jerusalem, there's a letter which corresponds to Hebrew kof, kuf, which is ha, ha. Okay. If you go up to Nazareth, it's pronounced as okay. Like the Hamsa or like the ancient Aleph. And so, but even within Bethlehem, Betlahem, Bet Sahur, Bet Jalla, right outside Jerusalem, there are different Arabic pronunciations in this tiny little area. Okay. And yeah, thank you so much. Glad you're here. And so that's why we don't try to use the ancient Aramaic pronunciation, because there is no the ancient pronunciation. Yeah, I don't get into politics here. I assume people are coming from everywhere, so you'll hear me refer to a lot of times I'll just say Israel Palestine, and it's not political, just descriptive. All I deal with is the languages here. I understand everybody has their perspectives on the land and all of that, and that's for another time. But I don't do that on this channel. So the people who speak Arabic in the West Bank, which is generally what I'm referring to, identify as Palestinian. And so I refer to that as Palestinian Arabic. But the reality is, what is called Palestinian Arabic is also spoken in Nazareth, which is within the confines of the state of Israel. And so it really is, it's very confusing. And, for someone who, I know you understand all this stuff, but I have many people who, might be tuning in, and just the geopolitics of the area they don't understand. And so I just kind of throw out those terms together to understand, so that people understand the area of the world that we're talking about. So, but it's not my being political, just so you understand that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I'm just looking through the chat here. Sorry. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. Help spread the word. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow. When? I don't know, but I will be on at some point tomorrow. So hope to catch you guys later. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.